Beautiful. Looks like we're all on there. All looking good. Sweet. Awesome. We'll go ahead and jump right into it. I have Jonathan and Rick on here tonight from Fortis Payment Systems. Super pumped to have them on. Really got to know them over the past couple of years through chiropractic and some different groups that we're a part of. But they've always taken very good care of me, always given me good insights, not only to just business, but life as well. But super excited to have them on here. They're a big voice into my life, but also continue to help me on my different business ventures or whatever I decide to get myself into. But was super pumped for the opportunity to have them on and share with you all. Love bringing awesome people like them on so you guys can just kind of see the people that I get to be around and what's super awesome about them. But really just going to turn it over to them, let them just share a little bit about who they are, what they're about, and we'll kind of roll from there. But we'll go ahead and start with you, Jonathan, if you just want to kind of introduce yourself, let people know who you are.
Sure. So my name's Jonathan at FortisPay. So kind of how I always think it's important kind of how and why we're involved in chiropractic, right? Because why are we here? Why do we care about chiropractic? That's usually what people care about the most. And so back in the late 60s, my dad actually enlisted in the Marine Corps. So my dad was a little guy. He was like 5'6", about 110 pounds. He enlisted in the Marine Corps. And they bulk him up to about 165 pounds, and they're doing hand-to-hand combat. It's kind of with these pugil sticks. It's like the American Gladiators, if you've seen that. And there was the big wooden cushion on the end, except in the Marine Corps, there was no cushion. It was a wooden block. And he was going up against a guy who was like 6'4", 220. And the guy hits my dad in the side of the head, flips him upside down, lands on his head. He passes out cold. So they send him to the infirmary. They can't figure out what's wrong with him. And they basically wake him up with the salts and kind of send him back out there. Over the next couple of weeks, he's running in his combat boots. His knees start to swell. And they think, oh, well, maybe it's just from running in your boots and you were playing handball and some of those issues. And so the condition worsens. And so they decide we're going to open up his knee. So they slice open up my dad's knee. And this was back in the day when they wouldn't knock you out for this kind of surgery. They would just numb you. So he was like numb from the waist down. And they open up his knee, and my dad remembers hearing the surgeon say during surgery, there's nothing wrong with this guy's knee. And so they suture my dad back up and send him back out there. Over the next couple of weeks, he goes from 160 pounds down to 86 pounds. He's a full quadriplegic in a wheelchair, no use of his hands or legs. He's completely locked up. So the Marine Corps has no idea what's wrong with him. So they medically discharge him from the Marine Corps, and they start sending him all over the country to try and figure out what's wrong with him. And they're sending him to hospital after hospital after hospital. And these are big hospitals. This is like University of Chicago, Michigan, right? Like they're not sending him to little places. It's the Marine Corps, and they have no idea what's wrong with my dad. So my dad's getting sent from hospital to hospital, from doctor to doctor, and they're offering him drug and surgery. And my dad remembers lying in a hospital bed, looking up at the ceiling going, if I don't get out of here, they're going to kill me. So my dad goes home, and he just thinks this is his life, that he's bound to live forever. And so my dad's going about his life, and my grandmother, his mother at the time, was seeing a chiropractor, and she was getting adjusted because she had Addison's disease. And she noticed when she would get adjusted, she could take half of her medication and it worked just as well versus when she wasn't getting adjusted and taking the full medication. So she thought this guy was so great. Why doesn't my dad come see her? And my dad, no. What are these quacks going to do for me, right? And eventually after a year, it took a year. My dad's in a wheelchair for a year. He relents and he goes, fine, I'll go in and see the guy. Well, the chiropractor my dad goes in and see is Dr. Ian Grassham, who, if you guys don't know who he is, you should go look up his old speeches. He's an amazing chiropractor, has a tree house at Life. Named after him. He's one of the founding members of Life University. Dr. Ian takes an x-ray of my dad, and his atlas was completely shoved into his spinal cord, but there was no structural damage. So Dr. Ian says, I can fix you. My dad's like, yeah, right. Ian's like, just come in every day and get adjusted. So my dad would come in every single day and get adjusted. And after 6 weeks, he was riding a bike. After 6 months, he was walking with a cane. And then after about a year, my dad was better. My dad looked at Ian and said, how can I ever repay you? And Ian, being the chiropractor that he is, says, go to chiropractic college. My dad goes to chiropractic college in St. Louis. He starts following Ian around as one of his mentors, Dr. Ian, And Dr. Ian's other two friends were Dr. Jimmy Gregg and then Dr. John Hoffman. So those are the three mentors that my dad had. If you're not aware, all three of them are founding members of Life University. All three of them are amazing guys. Jimmy Gregg actually still sits on the board of Life University. And so those were my dad's three mentors. I actually grew up hanging around those guys when I was a young kid. They were just Uncle Jimmy. And so these are the guys I hung out with. And so my dad's following them around. And at a DE seminar back in the day, there weren't all these coaching programs like there are today. There was only DE back in the day for principled chiropractors. My dad ends up meeting my mom through Dr. Jimmy Gregg because my mom was at a DE seminar because she was working in her dad's office. So I have a family full of chiropractors. So my dad is a chiropractor. My brother's a chiropractor. My dad's brother, my mom's sister, my mom's sister's husband, my mom's father, my grandfather. My grandfather's brother is a chiropractor as well. He was actually a founding member of Life University. So aunts, uncles, cousins, extended family, a whole bunch of chiropractors in the family. So that's kind of my background in chiropractic. My quick background in me, and I'll be quick because I know Rick's got to get to it, is how did I, kind of not become a chiropractor with all these chiropractors in my family? So I grew up in chiropractic, grew up in my dad's office. After school, I used to go to my dad's office and I would help people move from, the warm-up area over to the therapy, then over to get adjusted. I probably watched my dad do 742 doctor's reports. I could probably do one right now if I needed to. And so I just grew up in chiropractic. My mom ran the office and my dad was a great chiropractor, but my brain couldn't process science. My brother had to help me with my college science classes. So I ended up getting a degree in finance and went out in the world and was going to do finance and technology. And so at 22, I was working at Wells Fargo in corporate finance. I kind of quickly realized that wasn't the path for me. I was not built for the corporate world and to step on people's backs to get ahead and just do all the things that you have to do there. But it was a great learning experience. I learned a ton there. Couple years into being there, I met Rick and he introduced me to the guys at Fortis and basically made a career change and moved over to Fortis. And that's when my brother approached us about building a software system specifically for chiropractors. So that's kind of how it came to be and how we kind of got involved in chiropractic.
I love that. That's so awesome. I love hearing that story. It always fires me up. I want to come back to a few things that you said. I'm going to let Rick introduce himself, sure, and then we'll kind of just circle back. But I want to touch on a few things that I heard there. But we'll
Rick, mine will be a lot shorter. I don't have the chiropractic side, although it's definitely in many ways impacted my life. I am originally from Michigan. I moved down to Florida and eventually met Jonathan, who at that time, as he said, was working for Wells Fargo. I was already with Fortis. And I was literally hustling around by foot, handing out flyers to businesses, calling on restaurants. It wasn't great. And then met Jonathan, who was bored at Wells Fargo. He was done by like 2 p.m. and I'm making cold calls and grinding and passing out flyers in the Florida heat. And he said, hey, my brother is a chiropractor. We can sign him up. And he knows a bunch of chiropractors. And so that's just kind of how it got started. We didn't have any integrations yet. It was just his brother runs credit cards and he's got a bunch of friends. We eventually got integrated into some of the EHRs. We would just work on flyers and put them on chairs at different events we'd go to. Seeing that like a lot of them were in Atlanta or Orlando. And then it just got some traction going. And then I think it's been Jonathan, about 9 years now that we've been at it. And now we have about, 9 years, and we have about 2,700 chiropractors using our system. We sign up, about 40 new ones a month, and it's really changed my life. I remember being at some events and just seeing all these chiropractors that are like really in shape, and no one's drinking a Diet Coke. There wasn't any junk food, and I was like, I was already into health and wellness, but this was on another level. And I was like, this is really cool. I get to work and be around these people and learn so much. And what's funny is that when I had first gone to any of these chiropractic events, I was terrified of being adjusted. I was one of these people that like had seen it in the movies, right? Like all the guy how he gets killed because, you know, his neck twists, and I would get so sweaty when I would get adjusted at some of these
It
events.
was hilarious.
It was embarrassing, you know. I was so scared of it, and you see these things on TV and you just don't know what you don't know, which we'll come back to that. And it's definitely changed my life in a lot of different ways. So really, really grateful for all that it's done. And I love giving back, which is kind of a good segue. When we work with chiropractors, they don't know how much we care about it. Of course, it's Jonathan's family. And then again, how much it's affected my life. So when I'm speaking to someone on the phone, it isn't just about the decimal points and whether or not, you know, whatever it may be within our technology. It's more so like, no, I genuinely want to help you to help other people the way that it's helped me or the way that it's helped Jonathan. And, you know, can't go into all this on an intro call when I'm talking to somebody, but eventually we do that, or we send them a little video as an intro. So that's my story.
I love it. Yeah, I always imagine, for some reason, like people picturing their first adjustment, most people feel like, I always picture like the Iron Lotus from Blades of Glory, and that's like what people expect when they come in from all the crazy YouTube videos. But that's awesome. I have a question for you, Rick, just before I ask kind of both of you a few questions. Prior to Fortis, like what type of experiences did you have? Workforce? Did you always like just kind of transition into that, or what was kind of your professional life before Fortis?
Before Fortis, I was in the mortgage industry and some lending. And then prior to that, I mean, just like college jobs, really. I was a tennis instructor through college, and that was really it. I did about almost 10 years of the mortgage industry, and then prior to that, high school and college summer jobs was tennis. So just those three, really.
Cool. Always like kind of hearing people's backstories. And I know one of the coolest things, one of the things that really impressed me with Fortis, and I think it still does the most, is just the service. And I think anyone that's good at business has good service, being able to pick up the phone and call people. And I think that's one of the things that you both excel in. And kind of hearing that story, how you saw an opportunity with Jonathan, and then Jonathan saw an opportunity with you all, and it kind of was this perfect merging scenario.
Yeah, and as far as the service side goes, you know, the CEO, he owned and operated hotels prior to starting Fortis. So they were in the grocery store business and the hotel business. And so the reason he kind of started Fortis was he owned these hotels, and he would call, back in the day, what we call 1-800-GOOD-LUCK, and he was dialing the same line that the guy running an ice cream shop swiping $2,000 a month was calling. And he's waiting and hold behind them. And he's like, wait, but don't you, like, I'm a better client. I'm a much bigger client. Why don't you give me better service? And that's when he realized there was a gap in this space, and he realized that gap was service at the time. And so that's why we make it so easy to contact us, right? Because customer service is actually our number one core value as a company. So there's the chat box in the bottom right-hand corner of the Fortis system. You can email us, you can call us. You're calling an American office. It's in Detroit. Everyone's college educated, right? You're not calling somewhere off. And we don't have, you know, we aren't a massive company. We're a good size company, but we're not massive. So you can call and ask people by first name, right? So you can call and ask for Lydia or Michelle, and they'll transfer you right to that person. And so we really love that personalized customer service, because you're a small business. We kind of still consider ourselves a small business. And as you know, the owners know what it's like to run a small business. So they've been in your shoes before, and that's why they really value that customer service so much.
Yeah. And I love that. And I think you guys are probably the best. If people are going to model service, I love listening to service because it helps us better our service. And you guys are definitely one of the companies that anytime myself or a team member picks up the phone, it's like, that's how it should be done. Kind of go into that. We can kind of circle back into the chiropractic arena, but explain to people a few of the other different industries that you're in. And I know you can talk a little bit too. I know I love how you guys talk about the tech side of it too, because I think that's a huge aspect that people sometimes overlook.
Rick, you want to take the other industries and I'll take the tech?
As far as other industries, you know, we really specialize. I mean, at one point we were kind of dabbling in payroll, and then just it was more of a referral relationship. We also do some funding for businesses based on sales. It's really factoring, where businesses, of course, including chiropractic, can get extra working capital based on their collections. We get 4 months of the bank statements and put together a proposal. It's short-term funding, something good for equipment, not anything you'd want to buy a space or anything long-term. But that's really the only other one as far as any other products that we provide. Most of it is really the technology is really where we thrive, and how people are able to store cards, run recurring payments, and split cards. And that's really, Jonathan, more your arena.
Yeah, I mean, from a tech perspective, really, so the way it started was, it was me and our CTO, and I was kind of advising him on features, and he would build it, and then I would test it, and then he would fix it, and then I would test it again. And it was just this back and forth game. And then we, stuck it in my brother's office, and we basically said, all right, go break it and tell me every issue you're having. Give me all the pain points. And we had a list of pain points when we started, right? Which the original list was on the 1st and 15th. He had one staff member that would sit in a room and manually run their recurring payments, because there weren't a lot of good systems back then. Like in 2012, like I know today there's all these amazing and easy ways, much easier ways to take payments, but it wasn't that way back in 2012. And so we built a system specifically around what chiropractors do. And so it was, the whole point was alleviating pain points with taking payments. So whether it be, manually, running those recurring payments, to automating that whole process, right? Storing cards on file, being able to nickname the patient cards, being able to skip and defer. We'd find these pain points. They're like, hey, my patient came in and they want to move this month's payment date from the 15th to the 19th because they get paid on the 19th. And we're like, all right, cool, we'll fix that, and we'll build a feature. And we built a feature where you can click the calendar and change that month's payment date, or skip the payment, or defer it, or even features like, I'll give you a great one. I don't remember when this was. It was years ago. I walked into my gym and they were like, hey, can we talk to you at the front? It's like the 15th of the month. And they're like, hey, your payment declined. Right. And it's like this weird thing. And I was like, oh yeah, I had fraud on my Amex. Sorry, something happened. And they're like, no, it's fine. And I was like, no, I had fraud on my Amex. Let me give you the new card. And they're like, no, it's cool, whatever. And a light bulb went off in my head, and I went, this is how every patient feels. And what happens if you don't have the money, right? It was a situation where it was just my $49 gym membership. I had the money. It was just fraud. And I was like, we need to solve this problem for offices, because what if this leads to patients not wanting to come in, or patients avoiding getting adjusted simply because their card declined? And so that's when we built the feature to automatically send an email to a patient, and they click a link when their payment declines, and they can pay right from home or right through their phone, and update their card from there too. So we just build all these cool technology features to make it easier for an office to collect payments and for patients to pay.
Yeah, and it's super easy. I was really impressed with it, and even how quickly it advances too, even with like quick invoices, other features that you guys have in there. But even that specific feature that you're talking about, I know our specific patients love that, where they're just getting, hey, they can make the payment through there. It's not a big deal. It's most of them too, their card's expiring, something happened. It's nothing crazy. It doesn't have to be a big deal. But also I know more volume too is if you're having to sit there, like you're talking about the older systems where you're just processing card, that's also payroll, that as an owner and operator, we have to pay someone that does that. That comes out of that. And then you also have other fees and stuff too. But I've always loved that part.
One of the things my brother told me at the time, he was running a big clinic. He was seeing about like 800 a week. Oh, wow. And so he told me, he's like, this was one of the things he like ingrained in my brain. He goes, you have to realize, if I have to make a click for a patient, I have to make that click 800 times. Mm-hmm. So he's like, every click that you add, and this is why, and Rick can probably speak to this better. When we talk to offices, a lot of times we're like, we're not comparing apples and apples, right? Because someone's coming from a terminal or another system that has 1/100th of the feature set that our system has. And we're like, no, you're not taking into account all these little clicks that we save you. We design the system so that when you're looking at it, like the main page that you open, everything's right there and about 1 or 2 clicks away from right there, 90% of what you need. And it was built that way on purpose. Like we designed it that way on purpose because we want that speed and efficiency, right? So we don't want the front desk line clogging up when someone's trying to check out or someone's trying to buy something, or you have to collect a payment from someone, because again, it makes things worse and worse. So we're trying to create efficiencies along the way. And that's part of it, just reducing literally the number of clicks a staff member has to make to input or change or edit anything.
Yeah, that's such a big deal too, and I think that's why I love the tech side of it. Is you're saving us time, and time is money, but also just ease and efficiency for patients. But very easy for the team. I know obviously we're not going to pull it up and show them, but just looking at it, it's very simple. And I think sometimes tech, working with different workflows or different things like that, becomes too much, and it's very hard to do things. I've always loved that too. Always makes it very easy because, especially for us. And I know for other businesses too, but if we can let's deal with the finances. So now we can focus on the most important thing, which is your health. And I think listening to your guys' stories too, I mean, that's really kind of a little bit of the heartbeat behind it is, Jonathan, you had someone specific that was directly impacted by chiropractic and it changed your family's life. And now you're helping chiropractors have more time so they can focus on people coming to their office like your dad, that they may miss because they're too busy running payments or something.
That's you literally hit the nail on the head. One of the things I often say is I'm a finance guy. I'm a money finance guy. I'm a tech guy too. And so often I love chiropractors to death, right? Because most chiropractors have this great, loving, giving, caring heart, right? And they want to get patients better. I'm a finance guy. I worked in banking. I like throw my hand down. I'm like, collect your money. You deserve to collect your money. Like, it's not shameful to collect your money. It's okay to give away care, but you should know when you're giving away care, and you shouldn't be giving away care to patients that are willing to pay. And so, I always saw that doctors were always concerned and they're worried about the front desk. And, one of the things people have told us is they don't really have to worry. They know our system is kind of handling everything for them. And so the last thing I always think about this, like, imagine if Dr. Ian Grassam was worried about payments being collected at the front desk when he's adjusting my dad, right? Like, would he maybe have gotten a 10% less quality adjustment, 20%, 30%? Like, maybe he doesn't get healed. Maybe whatever the case is, maybe Ian couldn't have taken my dad on as a patient because he didn't charge my dad for care because he didn't have the ability to, right? And so I always want to make sure that offices are collecting payments from patients that they should be, just because, I don't want the doc focused on, oh shoot, it's the 1st, it's the 15th, are my payments going through? This is something we've got automated now, and it just gets deposited into your bank account every night, right? Why should you worry about that? So that's the last thing we want an office worrying about.
That's awesome. I say I love it a lot, but it's crazy how much it makes our life so much easier, and not even to have to think about what that would be like to have to do that is what's awesome about our generation and all these tech companies. Rick, I have a question for you guys as far as team, and maybe it's a little bit of both of you all, but how do you guys, as far as like team in building that customer service, being a service company, like you can't really fake that. Like there has to be like genuine people and genuine, like, feel like, hey, we want to create great service. How do you guys, just for other business owners or team members wanting to be better at service, how do you guys create kind of that culture for your guys' team at Fortis?
Well, I think for us, there's two main things. One, I know it sounds funny, our competition is not very good. When you call some of these other places, it's like calling an airline and it's press 1 for this, and it gets routed who knows where. So we really have the opportunity to shine. I mean, it's both. Like, the chasm is really big because our competitors are just worried about acquiring new customers. Because of our love for chiropractic and wanting to help chiropractors help other people and help them, whether it be a text on the weekend or a Facebook message, I tell people, lock my number in your phone. If you have a question, I'm not support. I don't have visibility of transactions, but I can always point you in the right direction. So there's really a through line here at Fortis is to treat people how you would want to be treated. And I live by that. And so I get texts all kinds of different times with quick questions, whether it be to sign up or how do I add a user or something happened or whatever it might be. So I think it's both that our competitors aren't very good, and like Jonathan mentioned about our CEO owning hotels, is to treat people how you want to be treated from the sale, and not just the sale, because a lot of people are really good on the sales, and then you get into their support or our relationship managers are excellent for all the things in between, adding new accounts, just changing bank accounts. Dr. Mateo, you want your money to go to a different bank account tomorrow? Cool, we'll send you a form, we'll have it back in 24 hours. And you can text me or you can text or email and we'll get it done right away. So don't we all dread dialing that 800 number? Like, oh, I've got to call Comcast or American Airlines or whatever it is. Like, this is going to be 42 minutes, right? How nice is it to just like, and that's done? So much so that I think people forget how good it is. So I think it's a little bit of both. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yes, and I can speak to the airlines ones because I've had some 3-day conversations or waiting.
It's dreadful, right?
And I'm like, just connect me to a human being. Like we have all said that. Like, where's the representatives? Like, and it's always like,
hitting
yeah,
zero
we're
as
busy
fast
serving
as you
other
can.
people. Yeah, zero operator. But yeah, and I can speak to that too. What's really kind of cool about that is I remember back, and people remember that, is I'm not saying that I'm a big name now or anything either, but I remember when I was just opening my practice and I had an issue. I couldn't remember how to log in, which is like 90% of my problems is usually my error. And we're getting ready to run out to an event where we can run Fortis off of, I think it was an iPad with data. And I literally messaged Rick through Facebook and I was like, hey, I'm having trouble with this. And it was like done in 5 minutes and we're up and running. And I know that you guys are helping me in different business ventures too. And even the follow up after, hey, just check in, make sure everything's running smooth. It's all the way top to bottom, no matter where you're at. And that's the part that I've always appreciated about you all the most. And I think the busier you get in different businesses, it's you pay for speed too. Because if I can't get a hold of someone, I'm probably not going to do business with them. And that's usually my rule. You could have a great service, product, whatever, but if I can't get a hold of you when I need you, it kind of defeats the purpose of using you. So I think those qualities and having that as a core values really speaks volume of who you guys really are. Kind of ask you guys kind of a question kind of to close us out of this is just for young docs, young entrepreneurs, people looking to go into the corporate world or whatever they're going in career-wise. What are some things that help you guys perform at just a high level in what you guys do, whether it be health, personal things that you do, working out, coaching tennis, whatever it is? What advice would you give people that are younger than you looking to go out there and make an impact in the world?
I think focusing on your strengths. I know, like, I'm a big Gary Vee fan, and I think a lot of times people are trying to focus and improve what they're not good at. And I'm, more sales and people, and Jonathan is a little, more tech. And I haven't touched a spreadsheet in 9 years because I'm like, Jonathan, here, I that's your thing. And, when someone asks about rates or whatever it is, Jonathan just goes like this. I'm like, put me in the game, coach, So I think really focusing on your strengths is really important, where if you can double down, and I know that sounds very Gary Vee for anyone that's a Gary Vee fan, to focus on the things that you do well and do that well, you can, that seems to be everything. I mean, yeah, if you can improve in some of these areas, but to really focus on what you do best is most important. Not just within a chiropractic office, but whatever business it might be. It pains me to think of people that are, sending someone into the office to go manually run payments, and they say, that's what I pay them for. Like, this can all be automated. Or, like in my case, I'm not a tech person, not code, not Excel. I'm terrible at that stuff. And Jonathan and we've all sort of teamed up. We have people that don't like talking to people, and they're just on the keyboard and they're great at it. They're customer service or data entry that keeps track of things. When's Dr. Mateo opening his office? And they deal with all of our lead gen, lead tracking and all that. So everybody's got sort of a place, a base that they stand next to and do that well. I think that really transcends into a lot of different areas of life.
I love it. That's awesome. What about you, Jonathan? Any words of advice young entrepreneurs out there, people trying to crush it?
I mean, I'll second Rick. I could not agree more. One of the things that makes us all work so well is we really stick in our lanes, right? And we're each individually good at what we do, and we stay in those lanes. So it's doing what you do well, and what you don't do well, outsourcing or finding someone else to do that for you. However, maybe I'll point out a couple maybe mistakes that I see chiropractors often make. Rick kind of mentioned one of them. Well, I pay someone else to do that. You still should know what's going on, know the process, or know if that's efficient or not, right? Just because you're paying someone's salary doesn't mean that's the most efficient use of their time or the most efficient thing to do. Just because someone's on salary you could have them doing something else, right? You could have them doing income producing activities for your clinic, right? Not just things that are time wasters. And so I think often we see chiropractors with that mentality of like, well, I've got her on salary. And then I'm like, well, she could be loving on patients, inviting them to the next talk, asking them for referrals, right? When we could automate this thing. And what is the grind that you're putting on that and wear and tear that you're putting on that staff member? Offices never think about staff turnover and what that truly costs them, right? So when you lose a key staff member because you ground them, like you just wore them out, right? With all these minute tasks and activities that they don't enjoy doing, that you could have automated for a couple bucks a month, but you wanted them manually doing it, and you're just wearing them out. And I don't think offices really think about that, true cost, right? Because it's these unknown costs that how are you going to capture a cost of, well, we lost an office manager and we went from seeing $350 a week to $275 because we had to bring someone else in and we promoted someone, but this got missed and this got missed. I'll give you kind of one more example. We had an office come up to us at an event one time, and we got into this long discussion about 7 cents versus 9 cents. And it was this whole long discussion about per transaction fees. And in that whole process, the doc, she points out at some point, she goes, well, there was a recurring payment that someone forgot to reset up and it hasn't been running for a year. And Rick hears it out of the corner of his ear and comes into the conversation and goes, did you just say a recurring payment hasn't run for a year? So
or they forgot. No, they forgot to bill. They forgot to bill that person. They weren't using for it or something where they had missed charging someone for a year.
Yeah, and we're like, well, you're focused on the wrong thing, right? So you're literally, the saying of you're tripping over dollars to pick up pennies. That was the scenario here. We had someone who's not worried really about the patient that they hadn't been charging for a year. They were asking us about the difference in our transactional fees. And I was like, I think you're missing the point of what we do, right? We make you money, right? And so I think offices oftentimes don't look at those things, right? And so I always challenge, the younger generation tends to be a little better at it because we're used to Uber Eats and paying for conveniences and technology. And that's really what we do. We're kind of like, the Uber in this industry where we are providing the most efficient way to get to point A to point B, which is how to collect your money from your patients.
That I love the way you guys put that. And I think it is, because I know I was the person that was there too, looking at pennies, but it's also, it's lack of vision in my opinion. Because what I heard there with Rick talking, it's positioning and strengths, which is errors that I've made, why I've lost team members. Always tried to keep the good relationship with them. But it's just, as chiropractors, when we come out, it's not like we went to business school or we shadowed someone that from the business side of it. We run it from the clinical side. But I think that what you said about like the Uber Eats and stuff like that is, yes, it may cost more. I'm not saying that it is, but transactionally, but I'm not going to miss a payment. And it's like, what is that worth? Or I know that this is always going to work. I'm not going to have problems here. I don't have to pay a team member to do audits every now and then. And you just don't have to worry about it. And then the other part too, which kind of comes back to the service side, is now, because I don't have to pay team members to sit here and look at finances every single time, we can get back to the most important thing, which is the people in front of us every single day. And I think how you said that and even through my experiences, knowing that I've been through that with team turnover, where you just wear them out and you're not even playing them in their strengths, or you're just not using technology to efficiently make your office better where your team can be in their strengths. I like the way that you guys put that and drew that in.
And we're a partial team member in your office, right? We're doing all these things behind the scenes for you. And so we don't go anywhere, right? Our technology doesn't go down. We don't stop working. We're running payments 24/7, Christmas Day, a weekend, a holiday. Like, the system's always running payments. Rick, you have a good example of there was someone who walked by our booth one time and they had their phone and they're like, "Hey, what's this email? I just got an email from you guys. It was Saturday. We were at a conference and it was a declined recurring payment on a Saturday." And so first off, in their old system, someone had to be in the office to run the payments, to go click the button to launch off running the payments. So it was a Saturday, the recurring payments had run, a payment had declined, the email from Fortis was sent out, the patient clicked the link and paid and updated their card going forward, all while they and their whole staff were at a seminar learning and growing and getting better, right? So we're the staff member that never leaves and never stops working.
Yeah. And like a lifesaver, it's time and energy, and that's what business is about for me. It's always a time and energy game. You only have so much time, you only have so much energy. And especially coming out, and I know you guys work with a lot of young docs, and I know we're always trying to get you more. And I think even just hearing from the business side of how you actually help too, and what your team environment looks like, but it really is a time and energy game. And having technologies like that, I know like automated text messages is a great example too. It correlates. It's like having automated text messages to send reminders or whatever. It's like if I have to pay team members to sit there and answer a call every time Miss Susie's coming in 15 minutes late, we don't have the business experience to understand how that impacts payroll, taxes, and I know that's a whole different rabbit hole, but I think that's what I love. I'd rather pay more value based. You save my time, you save my energy, because I know I'm going to make more money. You're placing us in our strengths. That's literally what you're doing.
You should always be spending money on technology to build efficiencies. Always. I will always do that because that technology doesn't go anywhere. So when we lose a staff member or have turnover, I don't lose my data. I don't lose this key piece of information or this key product that does something for us, right? So we have technology that we utilize for lead management or for case management. When you call in and you have a question, we load that into our case management, because if that employee leaves or maybe they're out sick, the next person can just go in the notes, read everything, see it, right? Imagine if we were using writing it down on paper, because that saves money. We're not going to use a big system, right? Like, how efficient is that? Or how good would your customer service experience be when you're re-explaining the whole thing over to an office? And the same thing applies in your office, right? I would say, because what is ultimately the goal in chiropractic, right? Most people don't become chiropractors, become billionaires, right? Most people become chiropractors to help people. Now, can you make money along the way and become wealthy along the way? Absolutely. And I am wholeheartedly for that. You guys are changing the healthcare system in America, right? And so you guys should get paid for the amazing things and the amazing services that you guys provide, but you can't lose track of these efficiencies that you have to do. And by creating those efficiencies, it allows you to see more patients. And when you see more patients, you can help more people. And when you help more people, you're going to get more referrals, which is going to lead to helping more patients, right? And so to me, it always leads back to that. The end goal to me is helping sick people get well, right? And that's where I see us fitting in. It's creating these efficiencies. So really, Dr. Mateo, you can do what you do best, right? Because no one else can adjust. No one else can be back there helping patients, right? It's something only you can do. And so if we can pick up in these other areas, that's what we want. And if you have other efficiencies that you can create in your office, you should absolutely do it.
Yes. And I nerd out on your guys' reporting. I love your guys' reporting. I'm a huge data analytical spreadsheet. I'm that type of guy. But I love the reporting too. And even seeing projections, stuff like that. I think those are some also great features that you all have, is knowing what you're getting, what you can expect. And it kind of helps you forecast where your business or how you want to help more people. Do you need to bring in a bigger marketing department? However that looks. Another part too is I love about Fortis is it's easy because it's so simple the way you guys have created it online. is when you go to like marketing events, it's very easy to take that, and then it's a nice flow into the office. You already have them in there, and it's just game on. Last thing, just kind of to close out. I know that's lots of great insights. I already talked to Rick. I'm gonna call you guys on a different private call. I have lots of questions I want to ask you guys. I know I get great insights every time I call you guys. I get great insights. I learn a ton about Fortis, but I feel like I learn a ton about life and just business in general. So I always love that. But just real quick, just kind of let people know where they can find you, connect with you, find more information about Fortis, and all that. That way they can know how to reach out to you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple of quick things on that. So we offer no sign-up fee and no contract. So it takes us about 3 business days to get an account set up, and there's no fancy equipment that needs to be purchased, just a USB swiper at $16. You can reach us at chiro@fortispayments.com. So chiro@fortispayments.com. And our customer support line is 855-465-9999.
Perfect. What I may do too is actually just post that in the comments below. That way they have that. But appreciate you all taking some time out of your guys' busy evenings to hop on. I know people got a ton of value out of this, and maybe we'll have to do a repeat live video. Get you guys back on here again.
Anytime you'd like.
Yeah, anytime. We love it.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Dr.
Thanks, Doc. Talk to you soon.
All right.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.